what it mean to be the best. Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on the goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
What's up? Welcome back. Tell the Truth, episode 66, baby. We are on Route 66 to Indianapolis for the Combine 2025 and the Chiefs offseason, kind of beginning in earnest for, in some respects, as we have heard from now Andy Reid and Brett Veach, as far as some interesting Chiefs storylines as we get into the season. Hope everybody's doing well. DG, I don't know where CJ went. There he is. Gang. Right on time. And we're excited to get into things. First of all, DG, CJ, how y'all feeling, man?
Feeling good. Combine is what? Thursday?
I already started, so now we just not doing all the measurements and everything now. So
I believe technically the first players will be arriving tomorrow, and obviously drills start on Thursday. So we will see.
I love the Combine. This is like the whispering.
Shorts and t-shirt season, baby.
We get all the rumors and the whispering and
off-season peak. Fine.
That is one thing. If you want to be around it, as far as that is concerned, you are not going to find a place where everybody is in the same area, from general managers, teams, agents, scouts, obviously players, like just in general, obviously media members, than the Combine. And obviously Indy does a good job from that perspective. But yeah, that is that's what it's made for. Apparently some of the players have already started arriving. I had that wrong.
Yeah, some of them are already there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the first workouts are on Thursday.
Yep. This time of the year, man. Get a lot of rumor off-season, peak off-season. Everybody's a Twitter GM this time of year, boys. So
call me.
Everybody think they know what's best. So this I love this time of year. Obviously, we get to get down to the nitty-gritty, talk about what we need, what we don't need. Like we said last episode, you got to have those honest conversations. What you do well, what you don't do well, what you need to improve on. So this is when you really build your football team. So I'm excited, especially given how young our team is. We've done a good job. This is where we make our A-Day right here. So.
Yep, absolutely. And a big piece of that, I feel we can say a big piece of that chess piece, or kind of what that chessboard is going to end up looking like for the Chiefs, building this team back into a championship level squad. Sounds like he's going to be back for a farewell tour, Mr. Travis Kelce himself.
The Yeti.
We kind of heard some positive, speaking as far as Andy Reid and Brett Veach in the press conferences earlier today. It's been picked up really by what guys like Pete Sweeney and obviously Nate Taylor have heard, that this is going to be a swan song of sorts. And I certainly love the analogy that Nate Taylor used early on Only Weird Games about it being the Warrior Kent season for Travis Kelce, beloved member of Chiefs Kingdom, and a major piece of this team, a fixture of this franchise. You could say the face of this franchise in many respects for the last decade plus at this point. So Travis Kelce now sitting here, 36, coming back for this last ride.
36. You 36.
You're 36.
A tight end room that has Noah Gray, who we saw improve upon what he brought to the table, throughout his rookie contract, now going to be playing on that extension he decided to have. And we're getting another year of Travis Kelce. How did you guys feel when you feels like we kind of heard throughout the day that this was becoming a reality, that Travis Kelce was going to be returning to the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, yeah, I kind of knew he didn't want to go out like that, obviously. I think if we would have won, that probably would have been a better way to go out. Obviously, get a three-peat, going into your 36 and having a way to go out like that. Obviously, get the team some cap relief. That would have been the perfect sign-off to an amazing career, Hall of Fame career, first ballot in a lot of our minds. But definitely could still be a big contributor and a big attribute to this team, and not even more so than just playing on the field, but giving knowledge. And we saw how much of an addition and how much of a benefit D-Hop was to the receiver room. I feel like Travis Kelce can do more things for Noah Gray, who's obviously stepped up in major ways this year. I expect him to take another level of jump next year. Hopefully we get Jared Wiley back on track. And we have some other prospects that I've been assigned to talk of as more tight ends. I think that he can add to the room and kind of carry on that legacy. Obviously, nobody's going to refill Travis Kelce's shoes for the Kansas City Chiefs, but we've kind of set that standard and precedence from the tight end room, giving Tony Gonzalez to Trav, and obviously we're going to pass that mantle on to the next group of guys. So nothing but honor and respect for 87. He's done everything for the city, for this organization. So one more year to go out there and put up some more numbers, hopefully break some more records, and try to give out knowledge and have a longer imprint on the Kansas City Chiefs for sure.
Yeah, I kind of tweeted about it a little while back that I would be ecstatic for Travis Kelce to come back for one more year, make a world farewell tour, go out. You know, you don't want to go out like that. That's not the way you want
It was ugly.
to. Like even if say they don't even make it back to the Super Bowl, that's not the way you want to go out. You know, so I knew ultimately the competitor in him would want this opportunity again to try to, you know, go out there for one more time and, you know, get back to the promised land if you can and go out a champion. You just knew he wasn't gonna let this go, you know, or whatever. You can't go into the offseason with a loss or that type of loss on your mind. I think it was maybe even a closer game, you know, and maybe they had lost on a last second field goal or something like that. Yeah, maybe he would consider leaving, but a blowout like that, like nah.
They didn't even give themselves a chance.
Yeah, you ain't getting me like that. So yeah, I think, and I know people have said like he owes us nothing, but I think as fans, we deserve it. We deserve to be able to go to this last season and give him his flowers that he deserves, to show him love for one more year. I myself have told him I haven't been to a Chiefs home game in 2 years now, and I told myself I'm gonna have to go next year. This is gonna be it for Travis Kelce. I have to see 87 run out of the tunnel one more time, you know, before he goes off into the sunset. So I think as we as fans, I'm not saying that he owes us anything. He doesn't owe us anything. He doesn't owe anybody. But we deserve to see him, you know, go out the right way, just as much as I know he will want to go out the right way as well too. So glad that he's considering. I know nothing's fully confirmed until he says it, but you know, I'm glad to see that he's considering coming back and making this run with us one more time.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I think that this has the opportunity just to kind of keep some level of transition in place. I think that obviously we saw how useful it was to have him and Rashee Rice on the field at the same time early in the season, and being able to kind of have this as a transition year, where last year that got messed up because Hollywood Brown got hurt, Rashee Rice got hurt. We weren't able to really transition the offense and really, you know, move it into whatever that next stage is going to look like. For Travis Kelce to come back, still be that leader in that room, still be able to help out as far as the offense is concerned, and then obviously be able to kind of steward in that next level of Noah Gray, Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice really being the three pillars of this offense. And we'll see what other weapons are added and what that next step is going to look like from that standpoint. So I'm extremely excited Travis Kelce is coming back. Like you guys have said, don't want to end on that type of performance. He deserves to go out a champion, and we're going to see if we can make that happen, certainly from that standpoint. Man, Travis Kelce coming back, it's funny. So along those lines, of course, in addition to that being kind of the big headline of the day, we did come away with a few other things from Brett Veach's press conference in general that we have one thing kind of from Andy Reid's to kind of hit on. I thought it was interesting, some of the things that we heard from this perspective as far as the offensive line. Sounds like Brett Veach has some real interest as far as a guy, Josh Simmons at Ohio State, certainly looking at tackle as far as this upcoming free agency period and the draft is concerned, as far as additions along the offensive line. I thought another thing, he kind of mentioned that there are good running backs into the 6th and 7th round picks. Currently aren't a 6th or 7th round pick within the Kansas City Chiefs. There is a comp pick that is expected to come in the 6th round, so certainly that could be a part of it. And of course, trade backs can still prove fruitful from that standpoint. The last thing, it does sound like, and this is something that Nate Taylor also mentioned on Only Weird Games. Well, there'd be two things from this standpoint, but the first one to get into is Trey Smith. it was kind of last week that we kind of went into this with the idea that, no tag is going to be used. They're not going to use a transition tag, franchise tag, not trying to negotiate off the tag, also not trying to tag and trade him from that standpoint. It is going to now be, according to Nate Taylor, really do you sign him before a free agency period or does he walk type of thing. I personally think that is, the right way to frame it, because if he hits open market, he's going to take the most money that he gets from somewhere, and he's going to price himself out of the Chiefs' reins undoubtedly from that standpoint. They apparently have a number that they would like to try and get done. It was mentioned that it'd be a 5-year deal. Talk to me about what that level of investment that you guys would feel comfortable with as far as Trey Smith, who is a very good offensive guard, somebody that's solid in pass protection and really great as far as the run game is concerned, sense of tempo out there as an offensive lineman that you want to play with a nasty streak. 5-year deal. What does that number look like, and how do you feel like it fits in the rest of the team building for this offseason as far as that's concerned, obviously with the investments already in the offensive line?
Well, it's gonna be close to a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it's gonna be like $100 million on a 5-year. If it's a 5-year,
yeah, we expect that it's going to be in the $20 million range. So that would put it
There's
down
2
million.
guards making 100 M's right now.
Yeah, it's
Robert
19 and a half.
So
Robert
they're both
Hunt
making 20 M's. So he's gonna be in that 20 M's for 100 mil market. So if obviously I think he's a good enough player, he's on that tier of level. I just didn't think the Chiefs would invest that much because of the way we've been able to develop linemen in this time here, being Creed Humphrey, being Trey Smith, and obviously we added Joe Tooney in free agency. So if they feel that they want to trade to stay, I'm not against it, but it's going to be a pity printy. And we were talking about it off air. How are they going to allocate the money from other sources to pay other guys in positions? Because we thought other guys were just as important to the team as well as Trey. So if they give him a 5-year deal worth 100 M's, I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye because I think Trey is that good of a player, but it is a lot of money to give out for a guard, necessarily not a high impact position like a edge rusher, corner, receiver, quarterback, tackle. It's an interior player that can only play one side of the ball. So I get the concept, but it is a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, who was the other guard that you said was making the $100 million?
Chris Lindstrom and Robert Hunt.
Lindstrom, yeah. So yeah, going to be in that $100 million range. It is worth saying, as far as the cap hits, obviously, if you sign him to a new deal, first year cap hit is going to be low. I was actually going to look up that Robert Hunt deal real quick as far as to see what that first year cap hit ended up coming out to.
Yep.
Robert Hunt, for those that don't know, was signed by the Carolina Panthers, a lesser guard than Trey Smith, point blank period. Just more of a good guy than a very good guy, a really good guy as far as offensive guard position. That first year cap hit for him was about $6.5 million. Ultimately, the entire average of the salary was strictly $20 million, 5 years, 100 mil, 44 guaranteed at signing. So you could say that that's probably the baseline. If Trey Smith is going to get signed this offseason, he is going to beat those figures. How much does he beat those figures and how willing the Chiefs are to help him beat those is going to be the question. I'm sorry, I know I cut you off. What did you want to add as far as Trey Smith?
No, I was gonna say as far as the structure, I would assume that it would probably, if it's a 5-year, there's probably an out, maybe it's built somewhere in this deal where they can get out of it in the 3rd year.
Probably after the 3rd year, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere. I know that knowing Veach and how he operates, I know this goes under his philosophy of you sign youth. You sign guys at in their prime of their careers. Typically, we've seen him. He doesn't usually give guys big money, over 30 years old or anything like that. So I think Trey Smith is right in that target range of where Veach likes to give guys big money. We've seen him do it with Juwan Taylor. We've seen him do it with several other people that have come in here and played for us at certain points in times. So Justin Reed, when he came in. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen just because I thought Trey would probably price himself out of here, and I was kind of content on that happening or whatever. But I think that this speaks volumes as far as what Trey Smith is in that locker room as well, too. I think, this says, Creed Humphrey obviously wants him here. I think Patrick Mahomes wants him here. I Andy Reid and one, you know, I think that coaching staff wants him here as well too. So I think it's just a point of emphasis where they're determining that, you know, we're going to get the best years that we can out of Trey Smith, you know, in the prime of his career. We're willing to pay high dollar.
And to his credit, he's been available, so there's no injury concern. He's been damn near Iron Man, him and Creed.
For him and Creed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. They played damn near every game. So there's not really too much of an argument outside of, like DG said, it's a lot of money to give to a guard, giving him $100 million. But it's not really like it's not too much you can bat an eye from Trey Smith. Does he have weaknesses in his game? Absolutely. He's not a near perfect player by any margin. But looking at the other players on that list, DMac, that after we get past Lindstrom and Robert Hunt, Samuel Cosme, Zach Martin, Quinn Murnez, Kevin Dotson, Wyatt Teller, Shaquille Mason. These guys are making $14, $16, $18 million a year. And we all know Trey Smith's better than those guys at this point in time in his career. So they're really only that he's at that top tier why he's going to get 20 M. So there's not really a reason to why you can't give him that money. So like we said, if it was on the open market, he was getting 20 M's plus regardless. And plenty of teams want him, obviously. I know a lot of fans have been telling me if he hit the open market, he would be priority number one. So if the Chiefs really value him that much, then you kind of have to. So
if you look at all the free agency rankings, that man is no lower than 3
1 or 2,
and 1 on a lot of those lists. So
facts.
Yeah.
So
They're paying. This is not about what he's done. This is about an ascending player, a guy you feel like his potential is only going to grow as this contract goes on. So that's why I'm getting from it at this point. And I think sometimes you have to do that. Like, I know there was some haters today that I seen on the timeline. It was like, he ain't even that good. And bro, like,
I remember when Lion used to be held accountable.
When did Trey Smith become bad? But like, you know, at the end of the day,
bring Shane back, CJ.
Bring it back, please. Stop lying for fun.
Some of y'all just need to delete y'all Twitters.
That's a fact. Twitter GMs are outside. Be careful.
So I think it's interesting from these 3 perspectives. The one that you mentioned, kind of as far as the aging curve is concerned, guards and really offensive linemen in general, you know, as they get closer to 30, they actually get better generally as far as their performance and what their value is. And ESPN has done analytics work as far as their pass blocking win rates, et cetera, et cetera. So those things are backed up, and it's really, you know, they just learn how to play the position a little bit better, and their athleticism generally stays at a pretty high margin from that standpoint too. So I think that there's certainly an argument for him getting better. Secondary piece of this, and I think that you saw it kind of last year with the Chris Jones situation where we're like, well, it's too much money to tag him. They're either going to have to get this done before or he's not coming back. And eventually they were able to get that worked out because they put a premium on him. It sounds like this is going to be another premium that's going to be placed on him. And we'll talk about him kind of relative to some other free agents in a second here. But the last piece of this, and I think it's interesting as you talk about keeping guys like Creed and Trey Smith, when I looked at the markets, say 15 months ago, I thought that they were in a place where, given the cap hit situation, given the fact that your investments for Joe Tooney and Juwan Taylor from a cap perspective are significant right now, and you can make them lesser as you extend them from that perspective, you can make the argument that you can make that work from that standpoint if you have a cheap left tackle, which again, we'll discuss throughout the entirety of this offseason, but is as it is for right now. So I think that there's an argument that this can work. And I think the fact that we learned last week when the Chiefs said that they weren't going to use a tag on him, but that cap number that was projected was going to be even higher, I thought was fascinating from that perspective. It could be interesting to see if he comes back. And it's a possibility that he does. Extra money under the cap for the Chiefs to work with, certainly in this, what we consider a Travis Kelce last ride type of situation. Maybe that goes well for their possibility in that aspect. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens in the future as far as Trey Smith and if they can get this done before the deadline of free agency, because if they don't, then he's probably going to be gone to the highest bidder from that perspective as well. Along those lines, the other thing that we kind of heard coming out is that, the defensive end of this, Justin Reed, who I think we've all kind of agreed is probably going to be gone from this perspective. We discussed Nick Bolton, of course, and the number that possibly could he be brought back on. Nate Taylor, of course, of Only Weird Games, also made the point that it would be more of a Nick Bolton versus Charles Omenihu type of situation of who would end up coming back. And we've heard a little bit as far as the, kind of the cryptic tweet season. Charles Omenihu had a few. And of course, what's it called? Chris Jones had one as well. So I'm not going to ask you guys necessarily to pick between the two of these guys. But give me some thoughts as far as what that defensive free agency kind of comes down to for you guys looking at it, of saying Nick Bolton's investment in linebacker. Can you afford to say goodbye to him and Justin Reed's leadership? If we assume that Reed is going to be moving on. Charles Omenihu, who I've said that is the second best pass rusher on this team, and we've seen his impact consistently for this team. How do you guys feel about trying to bring him back? How are your thoughts kind of working out as we get closer to this point as far as Nick Bolton and Charles Omenihu are concerned?
Go ahead, EG.
Nick, I think they have a shot at getting back. I kind of tend to think that Nick might be the one that's willing to take the kind of hometown discount to stay.
He loves the state of Missouri.
Yeah, I think he's obviously likes it here. I mean, he's a leader. He's a green dot. Spags likes having him in the system. I think he works great in the system. There's deficiencies in his game as far as pass coverage and things of that nature. But I think it's one of those things where it's hard to find guys that are more intelligent on the field than Nick is, getting guys lined up. A lot of people see the game and they just think, he needs to be doing this, covering tight ends or whatever. Like, Nick Bolton does a lot more than what people really will give him credit for out there on the field. So I think that is important. The Omenihu thing, I would love to have Charles Omenihu back. I just think he thinks his worth is a little bit pricier than what the Chiefs think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what it's ultimately going to boil down to. I think the Chiefs would be willing to pay him, but I don't think that their price agree at this point. Charles Omenihu thinks that, and I can't blame the Chiefs because the last 2 years that you've had him, you've had to sit out for, the suspension, waiting on you for that. Then, he played well or whatever. And ultimately at that point in time, you were thinking, yeah, we could pretty much, bring this guy back and maybe give him a little bit more money for what he does bring. And then you get the ACL injury. Now you got to sit out for that. Then you come back, and of course, yeah, he made, a huge impact as he came back to this line and it gave him a little bit more juice at the end of the year. But the production, just to me, it's kind of more risky to, give him a big deal based off of what he's done these last 2 years. And it's just truth at this point, and that's the business. I think for a player like him who's getting older, it's more of a sense of what have you done for me lately, and I just think that it's not going to be an even balance between both parties. So I think Charles Omenihu ultimately probably prices himself out, and somebody, maybe a younger team or a more up-and-coming team, is willing to kind of overpay to get him in the locker room, to get his leadership, things of that nature, probably get the last couple good years out of him. I think they'll probably value Nick over Charles Omenihu at this point. So that would be where I would be at on it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll wait for CJ to get back here. But so I feel bad for saying this as a Mizzou fan and a staunch Nick Bolton defender, and I have been. But I will say, when you talk about the past for an offseason, and we will be doing our own offseason next week, by the way, as a teaser. The paths forward to maintain the level of linebacker play that you got last year, for me, are easier to see than this defensive line without Charles Omenihu. And that's not to say that it can't happen. It's just that this defensive line is in a solid to good place and can be great. And we'll talk about the players that maybe we can add to it. But I'm more invested in making sure the defensive line is where it needs to be than the linebacker core, where I think you can get back to it. So to me, if the choice is Nick Bolton for however many dollars or Charles Omenihu for however many dollars, and I feel comfortable in saying, well, okay, I can bring Charles Omenihu back. Maybe that allows me to bring an extra defensive lineman back too. That, you know, we have a lot of guys that are pending free agents as far as that's concerned. Maybe bring a guy like Willie Gay Jr. back to add to the athleticism in the room, move Drew Tranquil over, and then, you know, draft a linebacker for depth as well. To me, that feels like a better plan than bringing Nick Bolton back and trying to replace the value that Charles Omenihu brings to the table. Now, again, like you said, Charles Omenihu's value is a little depressed due to missing those games. Maybe that means ultimately that he can come back in addition to Nick Bolton from that perspective. And if that happens, then that's great. You can bring both these guys back on reasonable deals. Like you said, Nick Bolton accepting a hometown discount, for lack of a better term. Love that. I think Charles Omenihu taking the path of saying Hollywood Brown, kind of similar, where they've missed these games. They were already going to prove the deals kind of for a certain extent, and now they come back for a lesser money. Great. Awesome. Sounds good to me. I think Omenihu can play even better. Obviously, you're removed from that ACL injury. So in a rosy, ideal world, you can bring both of these guys back at a reasonable price, but that's not always how it goes in free agency. And ultimately, if I'm making the decision, I think the pathway of Charles Omenihu and replacing the linebacker production may ultimately be a little better. But to your point, DG, replacing the instincts of the game is very difficult, and how much Spags does rely on Nick Bolton from that aspect. CJ, what are your thoughts on kind of this aspect of the Chiefs pending free agency on the defensive side of the ball?
It's a tough call for sure. Obviously, both guys are extremely valuable to what we do defensively, especially Nick Bolton. I think, obviously, Charles Omenihu took our defense to another level. When Nick Bolton's not on the field, the defense is not the same. We don't get lined up as fast. We don't get to the ball quick enough. I think just kind of Nick Bolton kind of puts everyone's mind at ease. Like DG said earlier, he's the quarterback of the defense. So when he's out there, everybody's at ease because he knows whatever call he makes and get everyone's in the right position. Pre-snap, which is the biggest thing, alignment, assignment, and then obviously go attack the ball. That's the biggest thing between any defense. So having a guy like Nick Bolton, who him and Spags obviously have such good synergy and such a good connection, most time he can make the call before Spags even says it because he's already thinking on the same timeline as him. So that's something that, like DMac said, you can't teach. And that's just football instincts. You can't put it on a piece of paper. It's something you can't mark in a number scale. Just something you have to just watch and know on the field. It's like an it factor thing they say about quarterbacks. Same thing you say about linebackers for sure. So from a Charles Omenihu standpoint, I would love to have him back, obviously. I kind of knew this would come to a point. It was only a 2-year deal. And unfortunately, his first year here, he had to deal with the suspension. We knew that because it happened in San Francisco. And then unfortunately, the second year, we were supposed to get a full year of Charles Omenihu playing next to Chris Jones, and unfortunately, he got hurt at the end of the season. So it was just unfortunate circumstances. Not really nothing you can change, but to DMac's point, when you're not available, it's kind of hard really to ask for a lot of money when you haven't been there. Now, will Charles Omenihu get paid in the open market? Yes, he's 27 years old, about to be 28. He just finished 6 years, so he's a productive guy when he's on the field. It's just your availability may come into question. So I think him and Hollywood are both in similar boats. Guys would definitely both want to come back to prove themselves and then go get bigger money, which would make sense for them in the long run. But I think right now, if you want a certain amount of money to stay here, you got to take a pay cut. And I think that's reality, just because, not to say you're not productive, it's just to come to the table anytime you're negotiating, you have to check all the boxes. Does your age make sense? Does your production match your age? And are you available? And usually some of those guys check 2 out of those 3 boxes. And Charles Omenihu, who's done that, unfortunately, outside of the being available part with off the field issues and the injury. So I think a realistic one would be Nick Bolton would take a hometown discount and Charles would stay. But if Charles left, it wouldn't shock me at all, because he's a guy that obviously produced, and he cryptic tweet season. We know he's talking about what he's on, so he knows his worth. And like I said, he's a hell of a player. He was like that in San Fran. He's good in Houston. So he's been a productive player everywhere he's went. So I would want him to stay for sure. And I think he's seen the culture here and what we mean in Kansas City. So, but at the same time, it's that time of the year, because I'm just looking at other guys on the market for D ends. Obviously, DeMarcus Lawrence, Preston Smith out of Pittsburgh, Josh Sweat out of Philly, Chase Young in New Orleans, Charles Omenihu's the next one right there. So he's in that line of the biggest name edges on the market right now. Then you get into the DeMarcus Walkers from Chicago, Jerome Baker out of Tennessee, Davenport out of Detroit, Derek Wise, obviously in New England, Anthony Nelson, Lorenzo Carter, Kaiser White, a lot of guys that Charles Omenihu's better at. So he's at the top tier of edges on the market right now. And I'm sure a lot of teams would pay him money to go out there and give him an opportunity to come out there and have an impact on a team. So I would love for Charles to be here, but I wouldn't hold my breath too much on it, because I think he's a guy that wants to get his money. And as he should, like I said, he's 27. So, this is probably the last big deal he's going to get before he is 30. So I think he probably would try to see the market and see what happens, but I would love to have him back. But if it's between those two, I'm going to probably lean toward Nick Bolton. Just the culture and the way we play and the intensity, he takes us to another level for sure. And not to say Charles doesn't do that as well, but I think the standard and the foundation starts with Nick Bolton in 32 for sure.
I think it is kind of interesting from this perspective, so I wanted to look it up as well. So currently PFF has, Charles Omenihu ranked as their 13th best edge rusher currently on the market.
Wow.
Behind guys
13th.
Matthew Judon, Dyer Odubigo, Baron Browning, Malcolm Kuntz, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, of course. Another interesting name, Chase Young, former first-round pick, obviously in the Veach mold, somebody that maybe you would want to bring in on a reasonable deal. Thought he was, solid for the Saints and maybe could give you a few more.
Reasonable.
Chris Jones. Funny name that is ahead of Charles Omenihu, according to the PFF, is Joshua Uche, who I think.
Okay, this is inaccurate. Take that off.
Yes,
this is inaccurate.
Charles Omenihu is probably better. So the one quick question, so I'll just say this really rapid fire. We'll move on. Nick Bolton and Tershawn Wharton, or Charles Omenihu and Willie Gay Jr.
Like on the team next year?
Yeah, bring him back next year.
Say what option? Nick Bolton and who?
Nick Bolton and Tershawn Wharton, or Charles Omenihu and Willie Gay Jr.
Nick Bolton and Turk. For me.
Did you?
Stuff, but you mean Nick Bolton and Turk?
Conflicted. Misusing your influence.
Yeah.
Because Willie has limitations too. Like it's
yeah.
But I want the dude that's up here. If I got to choose between them two.
Yeah, I'm with CJ. I just, to me, I know
between the ears, DG.
I can't lose my green dot, man. Nice. Like I know it's and like I said, I know he has deficiencies in his game, and people say like, oh, he's not a great pass coverage. Like we know that.
Chase Young is 25, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
I know he's been.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I think his market value, 8 M's. That's just what Charles Omenihu was making. If you can get it at a better deal than that market, like DG said earlier, or DMac, I'm sorry, I would love that. I keep forgetting how young he is. He's been in the league so long. I know he was that young. So 20, that's right up Veach's alley for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said, we'll be doing our choose your own offseason next week. Just as a little bit of teaser to be on the lookout for that, and we'll include who we're going out there signing, who we maybe want to trade for, obviously who we want to draft, etc.
Most of these niggas is old on this market, bro.
Yeah. I would probably go towards the Charles Omenihu Willie Gay sign. Aside of this, I will say personally, I think Drew Tranquil can be a green dot. I would prefer if you were to cut Drew Tranquil and just have Nick Bolton there and bring both him and Charles Omenihu back and Willie Gay back, and that be the trio personally that we'll roll with. But of course, that's not necessarily how things go in an ideal world from that aspect too.
Don't worry. I got a Willie Gay replacement. Don't worry. I got this. I got you. My list.
Be on the lookout well, we'll do our my guys later on, but also be on the lookout for next week as well. So as far as the offensive side of the ball, there was one question that Nate Taylor ended up asking of Andy Reid, and he answered very flatly: "Is there going to be any offensive staff changes?" He said no. And Nate Taylor smiled.
Soccer.
Y'all thought I was playing?
Nah. So no offensive staff changes coming this year. And again, we've had this conversation, last week specifically about what we'd like to see. And again, we did have an interesting quote from Andy Reid where he said, in the second half of the Super Bowl, we got the downfield passing game going. He said that he feels regret for not getting that going earlier in the season. So that's something to take into account. As we talked about, obviously, the offensive line plans moving forward, possibly bringing back Hollywood Brown, et cetera, what you do in the draft, of course. What ends up happening as far as the evolution of this offense is going to be fascinating. But we do see that ultimately it's not going to come from a new offensive coordinator or offensive staff addition to C-Pen's regret, to say the least, for Chuck. So that's unfortunate, of course. Is it still on there? Well, who are we paying for, DG? Anyway.
I don't know, man, but you got to pay the price sometimes, dog. This is what it is.
Is Nagy said the price?
That's the price.
That's the price. All right. So all that fun, obviously, during the press conferences, we were all the press conferences that we ended up
cost of the brick going up.
and a lot of interviews. One other nugget that also came out, it appears Fred Veach also did an interview later on, and it said that Travis Kelce was dealing with a pretty significant illness in the Super Bowl. We obviously heard some rumors of things going through the locker room, etc., leading up to the game. So fast forwarding now, obviously going into the offensive, or I should say going into the combine aspect of this, as far as draft prospects, things we're going to be watching for. Before we get into the kind of Chiefs-centric talk, we did have a piece of news kind of come out as far as Colorado Shedeur Sanders not planning to throw at the combine. And of course, the Chiefs are not in the market for a quarterback, but I do feel like this is an interesting discussion as far as from my perspective and how I view this, and I think how they maybe view it a little bit differently. What did you think, obviously, when the conversation around Shedeur Sanders not throwing at the combine, as far as that's concerned, and what do you guys think of that, the talk that happened?
As expected, duh.
Why did y'all? Why do people get upset about this?
He's a top 2 quarterback. This literally happens damn near every year. One of the top quarterbacks is not going to throw.
CJ, a lot of the top
they do it every year.
They go. Yeah, if you're going to be picked ultimately in the top 5,
why do I need to throw?
Why do I need to go to the combine? Why do I need to do any drills at the combine?
I'm guaranteed.
Right.
And my thing is like, DG, what am I going to show you differently that you didn't already know? You said I'm a top 5 pick, right? So I could go anywhere from 1 to 5.
Well, that's the thing. Some people don't think that he's a top 5 pick.
Okay, he's still going top 5.
Still going. Look, it's.
I go ahead.
I agree with you, DMac, on that point, but
it's a premium position. Yes,
it's the premium position. It's
the premium.
And he's been at the top of the list all year. It ain't like
you know where quarterback is. You see, you go to you go to your local Shell, your Quick Trip, whatever, your Buc-ee's. You know, if you live further down in the south, you go and you obviously got 3 different options, or maybe 2 options, depending on where you're at. You hit that premium button.
You hit that left most of the time.
Here's the thing:
this that right button.
But here you go. You hit that premium gas. Look, that's the left tackle. That's the wide receiver. That's the quarterback. That's the edge rusher. Guess what? You know the stuff they put in NASCAR and F1 cars? That's the quarterback position. Okay, it's a different level. You can't even get access to that. So, but that's a little quick aside. The only thing that I see from this perspective, I agree with you guys. I don't think that this is going to necessarily hurt his draft stock. We've seen top quarterbacks skip the combine. It's for understandable reasons. You want to throw with your guys in a controlled environment in which you can. For a guy, in my opinion, that is a borderline first-round prospect from a grade perspective, and a guy that I like, I want to make it clear. I think that he's a good quarterback and develop into a franchise quarterback. But a guy that is looked at that way really across the league of if he's really a first-round guy, your ability to go out and show out and put on a performance, I think, does mean something and can really help your draft stock. So to me, I think it's a missed opportunity to help him. I don't think it necessarily hurts him because we've seen guys in the past not throw and it wasn't an issue. But we also seen guys, you know, the Jared Goffs of the world, the Paxton Lynches of the world. Obviously, I think C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson most recently really helped their draft stock as far as that's concerned, solidifying those guys the top 5 picks. Going out there and compete, I think that does do something for teams. Obviously, it's not in the best environment, but if you go out and do it, maybe it helps out from that perspective. So personally speaking, like I said, I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity, but I understand why they decide not to, and I don't think it's necessarily a knock from that perspective.
If there's anybody that would do it, it's him. And like coming into it before the season even ended, we said, hey, who's going to be the guys that go to the combine and do all the Senior Bowl drills? I'm like, Shedeur probably not going to do none of that. Like, obviously, the namesake, obviously, who his father is. People already had him projecting going top 5 coming into the season. His dad has already had the quotes during the season, but he's not going here certain places. They're very meticulous and very mindful of what decisions they make in their family as far as their professional career. So him not throwing at a combine with random receivers and guys around the country is not something I think Shedeur would ever do. He's very particular about things he does, just like his father was. So any decision that they make for his future is going to be something they do on their time, on their dollar, and they're going to be the one making the final call on the shot. So him waiting until he's in his building with his receivers and promoting his brand, they're going to have some type of endorsement deal, I'm sure, behind it while they're doing the pro day. Everything they do is meticulous and is very timely and thought out. So for him not to go, that's a very Sanders family thing to do. Not saying that's a bad thing, but that just sings Sanders family. Everything they do is about business and about money, and they do everything with a purpose. And that's a purposeful decision that they would do for their family. I may not agree with it, like DMac said, but I knew that's something he would do. No question.
And it's completely logical as well. Go ahead, DJ.
It just people just need to be honest with themselves. Be honest with yourself. If you're a hater and you think Shador Sanders is that bad, you really don't like him because his last name is Sanders. Just say it like that, because nothing that he showed you last year deteriorated. And I'm not saying he doesn't have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses in their game. There's no perfect prospect in this draft. But
No,
there's
absolutely.
nothing that he clearly showed you last year that says, "Oh, this kid is gonna be terrible," or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't understand where a lot of the hate comes from. I'm not saying that he's gonna go out there and be an all-world pro, quarterback or whatever. But I do believe that Shador Sanders can come into a franchise that needs help at this point in time.
And give him stability.
Yeah, and play at the premium position that you need him to play at.
And he's used to the spotlight, so it's not really like a big transition for a lot of guys. He's been that way his whole life.
So I don't know why people were shocked by this or call this lame or whatever. Caleb
We do it
Williams
every
did
year.
it. Marvin Harrison Jr. did it last year. The list of guys continues to go on. Like, guys don't go to the combine. Like, and if they do go, it's to interview or whatever. And he went for that. It's not like he skipped the whole combine in general. He's just not doing the drill.
And why would you be impressed about throwing the ball in short shirts? Who cares?
And
what
then,
am I gonna do? Compete
Some people do like to see them compete, of course.
I get it.
Ahead,
I don't too. But
I want to see him compete too. But like to Chuck's point, that question he asked in the chat, where does Jackson Dart hype come from?
Well, yeah,
Chuck, he's been getting that hype all year. I don't know where.
You know where it comes from. Accounts like NFL Rookie Watch and Joe NFL that you should probably block.
And Chuck, he's playing for your most hated coach ever. He played for Lane Kiffin. What Lane Kiffin quarterback doesn't get hype coming into the league? Oh, he's playing for such a quarterback guru. He's going to get him ready for the league. He's going to be processing. He's running NFL concepts in college. Any quarterback under Lane Kiffin is going to get hype. Not saying it's warranted, but I'm just saying he's going to get the hype coming into college. And a lot of people already said it to the season. He was on their Heisman watch list. They already said there's not a big gap between him, Cam Ward, or Shador, even though I think there's a gap. They already said that about Jackson coming into the season. So the fact that he played semi-well towards the end of the season, obviously they went into their bowl game and tried to do some things, but any quarterback under Lane Kiffin is going to get hype. And on top of the fact, he's had this kind of hype all year. So it's no new information, honestly.
Nah, that's fair.
He's in the first round category now. So,
and yes, Marv did get criticized for his last name, and these things happen.
Yeah, I mean, you your daddy's son. It is what it is.
I don't know who Marvin.
You your daddy.
I don't know who Marvin Jr.'s dad is, though. I want to make it very clear. I don't know that man's name. I don't know who that is, but I don't know whose dad is.
Just stay out of people's business. Please.
You your daddy's son. It is.
So we talked about obviously what the combine matters or what does and does not matter from this perspective. Obviously, none of this is being put over game tape from that standpoint. Shout out to whoever got the joke, Chuck. None of this is getting put over game tape from that standpoint, but we do have very specific things that we do feel does matter from this aspect. And each three of us have our kind of positions that we're focusing on for you guys as we get into the Chiefs scouting and what exactly matters from that perspective. So I kind of want to run through just as far as one guy at each of our positions, as far as that's concerned, that we're watching for and why we're specifically.
Psych. Me and DG take over Busters. Yeah, DG, it's our show now. 2-piece. Now I'm playing.
Yeah, going over guys that we're watching. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that we've broke down in this process or whatever. So DMac is back, and I'll let him take over.
Somebody kicked him off. It wasn't me.
All of a sudden, it just decided that
DG hit that button. He said, "Sayonara."
That was crazy.
They gave you life.
They gave you life. Yeah, that was crazy. So CJ, you want to start us off as far as the positions that you have, one player at each position that you're watching for, and why you're specifically watching for them, and what drill also you obviously want to see them do from that aspect.
Absolutely. Obviously, I was tasked with the positions of receivers, tight ends, linebackers, and inside offensive linemen, being center or guard. I'm going to skip the center position, obviously, because we already have that solidified with one of the best in the game, and Creed Humphrey. I definitely looked at guard because obviously we're looking to replace Trey Smith. But the one I really want to focus on today is the conversation we just had: Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Drew Tranquil, linebacker. One of my favorite guys in the draft, Denny Stutzman, linebacker out of Oklahoma, a tackling machine. A guy that was 100-plus tackles the last 2 years. If anybody watched Oklahoma's defense this year and what they did with with Venables, This guy was easily a guy. He can wear the green dot as well, can lead your defense, can play off ball, can play on the ball side linebacker, extremely fast. This is my Willie Gay replacement for us. A guy that's going to hawk to the ball, a guy that's extremely instinctive. He's going to make every play that comes near him. He's good in coverage as well. Has a little bit of a weakness. Not say the best coverage guy, but the athleticism and the speed and the instincts are there. I love everything about him in the run game. He tracks the ball extremely well. He sheds blocks. He gets off the ball. Has good size to him. I think he's about 6'1", about 225, 230. So about a similar size as Willie. He's extremely fast. If I had to guess what he's going to run, I don't think he's as fast as Willie, but he's pretty damn close. He's obviously one of my darlings, my favorite guys as far as linebackers in the draft. I would love to have him here. I think he'd be an extremely benefit group for us, especially we need that speed aspect to play next to Drew and Nick. So I think this would be a great asset for our defense, and I think Spags will love him because he could do so much with him in the blitzing game, coverage game, tackling game. He's good everywhere on the field for sure. So Denny Stutzman at a linebacker at Oklahoma is probably one of my favorite guys to watch.
Love to have him. I just wish he went to a different school.
I know DG hate OU. I know. But DG, he a dog, though. You've seen him play twice. You know he a dog, though.
He did certainly flash when I saw him versus Mizzou this past season as well. So I'm intrigued by him from that perspective. What exactly do you want to see? Just kind of the overall athleticism and how it kind of compares to guys, I assume. And what those
the biggest drill I would probably say be the bags drill. Like any linebacker, you want to see, do you have good feet? Do you have good hip movement? Do you react well to shipments and lineman movement? So that'd probably be the biggest drill. Like the 40 doesn't really do too much because I know he's going to run fast because you see that on tape. He's an explosive player and they play in a box. So the 40 really doesn't translate too much unless you're like a down the field guy like DB or receiver. So yeah, the bags drill probably be the biggest one for me. And obviously how he is on the board with everything as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly fair from that perspective. The other thing I wanted to kind of bring up, as you talk about kind of the wide receivers and tight ends, and particularly tight ends, obviously this is going to be a very interesting group from their specific perspective as we talk about kind of maybe adding to this tight end room. I think the wide receivers are certainly important. One fascinating thing for me when I'm watching them on the field, I love to see the gauntlet drill because the ability to kind of flow in between, and for those that don't know, you run straight down the line, there's quarterbacks on each side of you. You have to turn one way, catch the ball, drop it, turn another way, catch the ball, drop it, et cetera, till you get to the end, catch the last ball, and run up the sideline. The fluidity that guys do that with, I think, is very important. How comfortable are you with catching the ball and just immediately tucking it and then dropping it and then turning your head from that perspective? Do guys slow down as they run across, or are they comfortable staying full stride and catching the ball? Very important from that standpoint, in my opinion. And so that's
I love that drill. That's my favorite drill too.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, I know you're tight end, so I got to play it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I find that to be kind of the most interesting one from that perspective as well. Interior offensive lineman, you kind of just want to see a little bit of the fluidity as well. One thing that I do like to point out as far as, the offensive side of the ball and kind of what matters. For tight ends, you're really looking for kind of explosiveness, so the broad jump, 40 vertical kind of guys that maybe
the hamstrings, can they pop? Do you run?
Yeah. Those are the things as far as analytics that kind of show that there are some what has the greatest correlation, I should say, to success in the NFL as well. Wide receivers all over the place because the body types are all over the place, but age is really the biggest thing for wide receiver. Just being able to be younger helps the most as far as correlation. And then as far as linemen, really the three cone and the shuttle because of your feet in kind of a short area from that standpoint. And you can get a little bit maybe from the explosiveness in your lower half as well. But offensive line is kind of difficult. You're not looking for too much as far as the combine for offensive linemen, especially, from the standpoint of a lot of people I'll see make the mistake in offensive tackle. I'll talk about this of, he benched this many reps, et cetera, et cetera. Well, for offensive tackles, that may not be the best sign because that means you probably got a little bit shorter arms than you're supposed to. And if you have longer arms, it's harder to bench press. So that's why it's actually a negative correlation for offensive tackles a lot of times as well. So you got to know what you're looking for in that standpoint. Offensive lineman, a lot of things that you're going to need, and as far as that's concerned, you're going to need to see them, on tape and not necessarily the combine. But you can get a little bit as far as the lower half strength and explosion in that aspect as well. I'll go ahead and give mine. So as far as the guys that I'm watching, one guy who's going to be a part of obviously DG's wheelhouse, Cam Thomas, offensive tackle from Texas, is a guy that I'm going to be watching. I think it's going to be interesting to see necessarily where his measurements come out at. I'm just saying it. I just want to see where his measurements come out at as I continue to go through my process to look and get them. I don't necessarily think that he's a high investment guy, but simply to see where his measurements come out at, I think it's going to be interesting as well. More important as far as investments are concerned. If you're talking about this really good interior defensive line class, a guy from Toledo, Darius Alexander, who really blew through the entirety of his conference from that perspective, where his athleticism kind of comes out in comparison to his peers is going to be fascinating. If he's going to have an NFL level of play, he's obviously got to compete on that level from an athleticism standpoint. I like what I saw on tape, but again, the competition is a question mark as well. And then two guys from a running back perspective who I want to see, again, the athletic testing really matter for. Rashad Smith and Devin Neal. I think both of those guys kind of pop on tape as far as what they can kind of do. I think those guys are maybe a little bit on the lighter side, which is a little bit more concerning for running back from that aspect. But for what we're looking for, I think I can deal with it. What do their three-corner shuttle really look like? What is that explosiveness in that lower half going to end up looking like? It's going to be my question mark. Why are you making that face, DG?
Because of what Chuck said, the first Texas guy.
That's yeah.
I think you meant Cam Williams, right?
Yeah, Cam Williams.
Yeah.
And again, that's outside the top 100. So that I'm just kind of looking at it from a scouting perspective, way outside the top.
He should be. I heard first round for him. I was like,
yeah, no, that's crazy. That's nuts.
What?
Which y'all looking at?
And we're kind of talking about as far as the top 5 Chiefs.
I was watching that.
But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. The overall testing for Darius Alexander, interior defensive line, really the explosiveness kind of in that lower half is really a key portion of it, which again comes into how you're getting out of it. The one thing that I really like, especially for edge rushers, but also for interior defensive linemen, that one drill where you kind of you're starting face down and then you have to get up and kind of change direction. Being comfortable moving in quick, short spaces, that is very important, obviously, for a defensive lineman and playing with that leverage. So how comfortable you are with that, I think, does matter in that aspect as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to be watching. Running backs, those two guys, Rashad Smith and Devin Neal, how they test is going to be fascinating, and how their level kind of stacks up as far as NFL prospect athletes are concerned. So, DG, you want to give us as far as kind of the guys you're going to be watching or why you're going to be watching them?
Yeah, I think I got the corners, edges, corners, and safeties.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest position I'll probably be watching would be the corners. There's a lot of good corners, I feel like, in this draft. I feel like this is probably one of the better defensive drafts we're going to have here in a while. I know last year was more offensive laden. So I think that this year, this is the year that if you want to really build up your defense and get a lot more pieces on that side of the ball, this is the year to do it. And I think this defensive back class has a lot of talent in it as well. So I'm always looking forward to seeing those guys. Of course, with the athletic testing, the 40s, the drills. I love watching. I think the biggest drill I like watching for DBs is I don't know what they call it, but when they test their fluidity in their hips,
the W drill,
back pedal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of lets me know if your tips are tight or do your hips not lie, pause.
No diddy, whoa.
But yeah, that lets me kind of know where you can be. I think it's obviously a good trait is a DB to have great hips, be able to change direction in a matter of seconds, because obviously that's going to be your job. I think the biggest I got a lot of guys I actually like. Guys that obviously went to Texas, and Jahdae Barron and Kobe Bryant, who just played across the way, 45 minutes away from here.
Okay.
But the one guy I actually am intrigued to watch is Denzel Burke. Just to see, I think I want to see more from him as far as the athletic testing, because the ball
he played way better this year.
Yeah, the ball production this year, a lot of people, I think, for his talent, expected more ball production, more, probably interceptions, things of that nature, for him to have more takeaways. And it just didn't kind of mount up to that. Yeah.
Caleb said Pilates. Oh boy.
Yeah, right. You gotta add them. Look, you gotta add hips. It just is what it is. But I would definitely like to see. I think he fits the mold of what the Chiefs typically would like in their corners. I think they need a bigger size corner, a guy that can play in phase, play man to man. That's something that we know Ohio State has been known for. We've got a lot of guys that have come out of there that have been great man to man cover corners. Marshawn Lattimore, if you just to name one or whatever. So I think to see, kind of what he can bring to this thing, and just to watch if the talent matches up to what some of the weaknesses that they kind of gave him for or whatever. Some of the stuff I was reading is he's a little bit handsy, especially in man coverage. He can tend to be a little bit flat-footed. So I like to see if he, be able to take some of that criticism and kind of flash some of those skills and knock some of those doubts out at the combine. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm excited, man. I always love to see the DBs. The 40s is obviously always one of my favorite drills to watch, because I think that tells you, what you're really getting as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. And look, the cornerback position particularly, it is a stopwatch position where the 40 times do matter, because a certain level of long speed that you can bring to the table, especially at your 10, 20-yard splits and what your acceleration is, being able to stay with NFL wide receivers is incredibly difficult. So it does matter from that perspective, and it's one of those few positions that the 40 really can make a difference from that aspect too. And along those lines, there are a few guys really, as far as the corners are concerned, that I'm interested for. Barron is certainly one of them. The reason why for Barrett is he's going to have shorter arms, and that means he's got to have a really, really, high level of both the fluidity that you talked about in that W drill as well, but his testing across the board and that athleticism is going to be key to be able to see. So from my perspective, I think that his testing is going to be important. Another guy that I really liked on tape was Noah Williams from Cal. I liked what he brought to the table, so I want to see what his athleticism testing really looks like. And then one guy that's, really further down the board, a little bit off the radar, Darian Porter, who's a really good athlete out of Iowa State. He kind of flipped back and forth from corner to wide receiver on a consistent basis. He's a guy that you look at it could be, kind of Brett Veach and Dave Merritt's next DB day 3 type of project. He's got all the length and athleticism that you necessary. You'll probably see it as far as the testing. He played the position pretty well. You're just going to need to see, some improvement as far as the technique is concerned. So maybe a guy that ends up becoming a chief later on down the line, I want to see what he ends up putting out there as far as the combine is concerned. So yeah, there's a little bit as far as what we're going to be watching, positions we're going to be watching. Obviously, we'll have our recap next week in addition to obviously our Choose Your Own off season. The one thing I did want to end on before we moved on to our top 5 Chiefs fits and on my guys. The one thing that also comes out of this week, and we talked about this kind of earlier, as far as everybody being in Indianapolis, all the agents, everybody there, get all the GMs, all the scouts. You get the team meetings, which a lot of people, it matters for all these guys for different reasons, character concerns, etc. When they actually get in the room, can talk with them. But also it matters for the medical aspect of it. They're going to be examined, poked and prodded, etc., over the next week to be looked at. And when you talk about Chiefs guys, and a guy that's been mocked to the Chiefs, a guy like Joshua Simmons out of Ohio State, obviously had the major knee injury, the patella tendon that he unfortunately tore at the beginning of last year. It's going to be massive to see what his evaluation is ultimately going to be. And the reason why I say this is we're obviously not going to get the medical evaluation, but coming out of the combine, you're going to see guys move up and down the board. Some of that is going to be what the medicals look like when guys get in there. So what Joshua Williams is, or not Joshua Williams, I should just name him just Josh Simmons. I don't know why I say Williams. Obviously, his name is in mind for a reason. Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. What his knee evaluation looks like to these teams and what we hear coming out of where he's moving as far as up or down as far as the board is going to be fascinating. Maybe give a little bit of indication of what ends up happening at the combine in that aspect. And that's going to happen for all these guys. And that's why, we'll see as we get further into the process. Go ahead, DG. Put the note up. Pay the price.
Gotta do it, man. Just gotta pay the price. I feel like we're probably gonna need merch, man. People want to pay the price, man. The cost of the brick. Okay,
the cost of the brick is going up.
I don't think we can do cost of the brick for merch. I don't think we can.
Why not? Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
The cost of the brick going up, man. Stop playing, bro.
The streets don't lie.
Y'all watch The Wire?
Streets don't lie.
Which you guys want to do first? The Chiefs fits list or the My Guys? Which one do you guys want to do first?
You can do My Guys. We already made them.
We'll do the My Guys. Okay. We'll do My Guys first. DG, you're going to be first up. Because I have you pulled up.
Let's roll, DG.
Go ahead and walk us through your my guys for this. Again, this is early on. We'll do this later on in the season as well, or in draft season specifically as we get closer. But yeah, talk to me about these guys, DJ.
Yeah, man. So like I said, I had the edges and corners and safeties as well. Well, DBs for real all together. So I think they kind of get all roped in together. I guess I'll start at the top. I got Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M. I think he's. Let me pull this up real quick. What was this? I'm trying to look at his measurables. That's the best thing about this weekend, man, is finding out like everybody's true measurables and what they, But 6'5", 281. I feel like that's the reason why I picked him was just that's typically the kind of size that Steve Spagnuolo likes for his edges, bigger kind of edges, a lot more stout kind of guys, especially with the weight and things of that nature. Obviously, those guys tend to be able to hold a little bit more of an edge, and I think that ultimately is what Steve Spagnuolo wants you to be able to do in this defense. Not only be able to rush the passer, but to be able to stop the run as well and be stout in the run game as well too. Rare in size and movement, man. I think the only downfall for him was just his production as well too for what he kind of flashed on tape. Got a good plethora of moves, I feel like, but just at points in times the production just wasn't there. Maybe has a tendency to over pursue a little bit at points in times, gets a little too excited upfield at points and just not finishing. I think that's something that can be coached and brought in, especially if he's put in a different role, not a lesser significant role where he's not having to be the guy here. So I think he'd be a perfect fit, just basically off the sides alone and what he's able to flash on tape. Jade Barron, obviously, a guy that watched a lot, throw forward winner, versatile guy, a guy that honestly, in my opinion, could play both safety and corner if you really want him to. He also, I think, what his role in the league is obviously going to be a primary nickel. I think more of like a Kenny Moore, if you want to, have a player comparison of what he is. Guy that has good hands, good instincts of where to be. Great tackling. Johnny Barron's one of those kids. He just does everything the right way, man. He's coachable. He's a good hearted kid. Speaks well, things of that nature. So, I just feel like he can come in to any defense and make an immediate impact for any team, just because based off his versatility alone, and I think that's why he would be a fit for the Chiefs. Just versatility. And they obviously value that or whatever. Guy goes down, if they needed him to play, that free safety role or something like that, like kind of how Kendall Fuller when he was here. That's kind of who you're getting in Jade Barron, in my opinion. Kobe Bryant, obviously, a lot of people watched him. The name alone, man, is really significant. I know a lot of people.
We good, DG. We don't waver. We stay focused.
Right. A lot of people would love to have
y'all know who Kobe is. Y'all been saying
Kobe
his name
in
on the
this system,
every day.
Right? I know for a lot of people. Somebody told me today about the weight. Him being 170 or whatever wouldn't translate to the league. And I just felt like this was Xavier Worthy all over again. I understand, he may be undersized as far as the weight or whatever in this league.
The instincts are there, though.
It proves it, yeah. I wish people would really stop looking at measurables all the time. I know measurables matter, but in some cases,
it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, it's not the end all be all. 6'1", 170, great ball skills.
He had a lot of PBUs.
Yeah, can play in phase. I think he's a tenacious competitor.
Good tackler too.
Good tackler. Will come up and play in the run game. Another kid that I just feel like he's ready. He's always ready to compete. He wants to be out there competing, making plays, and trying to get the ball back. And that's the reason why I picked a lot of these guys, in my opinion, just because I think the Chiefs need to move more towards getting guys that can create turnovers for them, and get Mahomes and them the ball back a little bit more. I know our defense was able to do a little bit of that towards the end of the year last year, but I feel like getting somebody that can come in to be that ball hawk, take some risk at points in times to jump some lanes and stuff like that. Denzel Burke I already kind of talked about. I think the only thing for him is that just the production just wasn't as what people would have thought it was with him playing at Ohio State. But the reason why I had him on the list was more just because of the competition that he's had to face in the Big Ten. They obviously ended up being a national champions, so he knows what it takes to win. It's played at the highest level, I feel like. So lights are never probably too bright for him at this point in his career. I think there are some flaws there as far as, like I said, him being a little flat-footed in man coverage and being in phase at points in times. There's a points where he can get a little handsy, and have some penalties. But I'm willing to deal with that solely based if you can get the ball back for us, or you can, limit some of those penalties and be able to get off the field at points in time. So Xavier Watts, watched his highlight tape the other night, man, and that kid just does everything. He's sent up. I feel like he's super intelligent. He does everything right. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a more rangier Jaden Hicks, in my opinion. I think he's a little bit more of a ball hawk than Jaden Hicks is. I could be wrong on that. I'd like to go back and watch a little bit more of his film breakdown. That's just what I saw on the highlights as well. So, but comes up, tackles, willing to do that. And again, level of competition. Played against some of the best competition in the nation. Obviously, was part of that team that went to the national championship game as well. So, just think that the lights aren't going to be too bright for him as well too. And I think him and Jaden Hicks together would put the fear of God in people to not to come in that box at any point in time and take somebody's head off. So those are my draft day guys as far as the edge, corner, and safety position. There's obviously a lot of other guys that I like as well too. I'll bring up another Texas guy, Andrew Makuba is a guy I feel like that could fit in this Chiefs defense as well too. It's a lot more kind of a rangier safety to me, more of a ball hawk, in my opinion. But will also come up and take your head off.
Thumper
too. So this draft, I don't think they can really go wrong with who they get at DB. I think this draft is filled with a lot of talent at that position. So I obviously think Brett Veach is going to get one of these guys, and it could be a day 2 or a day 3 type of guy. And one of these guys could fall to that. I can see Kobe going day 2 or day 3. Denzel Burke is probably day 2 or day 3. And I've seen Xavier Watts get mocked in the first.
He's been day 1 or day 2.
Yeah.
Day 1, day 2.
Jadi's probably the only one that's guaranteed to go.
Yeah. Jade to me is probably the only guy that's probably gonna go top 20, and you would probably have to move up to get him, just totally based off of what he brings versatility wise, and the kid just does everything right, man. There's not one thing I can say bad about him, and that's really good to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I did want to specify as we go through this, we all have our own positions that we're going through. So as DG said, he basically have the DBs, quarterback, and obviously safety.
We got assignments.
Then also had the edges. And Shavar Stewart, people are going to hear his name as we go through this. He's going to kill the combine. He is a freak athlete through and through. You speak about kind of the lack of production, like you said, maybe a little bit of finishing issues. he also was one of the tops in the nation as far as pressures are concerned. So he even though he didn't necessarily have the sack production, that kid is amazing, and I expect him also to be top 20 guy by the time it's all said and done.
I will say he played next to Scorton, and Scorton is probably gonna go top 20. You feel like, or it's probably gonna be one of the higher edges.
Another day one guy.
Yeah.
So both those guys.
He may have stole some sacks from him.
That's also very true. Now I will be talking about the DTs here in a second. It certainly will be as well.
Don't y'all worry, we got it.
So, CJ, I'm going to go ahead and pull up yours up if you want to go ahead and walk us through.
Here we go,
guys, man. A few of my favorites here.
All right, I think we're all pretty familiar with a lot of these guys. I kind of ran down Denny Stutzman earlier. I'll probably just give a quick rundown on him again. Obviously, I think I actually shortchanged him. He's 6'4". Actually, I said 6'2". He's way taller than I expected. But still, tackling machine, 3+ years of 100+ tackles, productive. Could play on the ball, could play offside, weak ball. Obviously, can play with a green dot and lead your defense as well. Just an ultimate leader, a guy that played through injury, played through playing, and was always available. No matter how bad the offense for Oklahoma was this year, which if you watched them, they were god-awful. He still went out there and played every single snap, every week, as if his hair was on fire. So I love his energy. I love his competitive nature he plays with. I would love to have him be a part of our team, even if DG doesn't like his school. Other guys on my list would be Matt Golden, another good thing guy that DG would like. Speed. And the one thing of all our receivers we add to this receiver room, guys that are explosive. And if you watch them play towards the end of the year, this kid can go. He got better towards the year went on. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, they had some turnover and trying to figure out guys. When you lose guys like Xavier Worthy and obviously Amari and A.D. Mitchell, and you're moving guys to the league, you're going to have some turnover and new guys have to step up. But by the midpoint towards the end of the year, DJ, I think he kind of separated as the number one option for you guys. And he proved it in big moments, and he always made plays, whether they were down or from ahead. When they needed a big play, Quinn Ewers looked to him. And he's a prototypical size. Yep, great route runner, super explosive with the ball in his hands. I think he's about 5'11", like in that 5'11", 5'10" range. So he's about the size prototype that we believe in. And I think his speed and translation would be more of enhancing what we do on our team, just because big body receivers don't play as well in our system. We more try to create and get guys open via space. So his speed would be an enormous probably addition to our team. Same thing with Trey Harris, another guy who's about 6'3", can run down the field, a very explosive guy. I think if you put him in that MVS type of role, you put him obviously in the X, he can go down the field and play that as well. He obviously is a good route runner. He can play Z if need be, but I think his down the field speed and being that downfield threat, you put him and Xavier Worthy together with Rasheed in the slot, that could be an amazing trio for the next 5-6 years for sure, with that draft control, with those receiver room. And we love to keep our guys young in that room as need be. So if we can't get Hollywood back for free agent purposes and he decided to test the market, rightfully so, we would understand. These are some of the guys that I would definitely love to look at. And neither one of them are day one guys that I've seen so far, unless something happens crazy at the combine or pro day. So I think these two guys are definitely available for us day 2 or day 3 based off their draft size for sure. And as far as tight ends, I love this position, a little emotional about it, but Mason Taylor, obviously we know Jason Taylor's son. Everybody knows the backstory about him. Very productive kid.
You don't want to yet, though.
I mean, hey. I mean, we ain't gonna talk about your sister. Respectfully, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that.
We went through this with Xavier Worthy last year. Let's not do it again.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Mason, you have a very amazing family. We love everything about you. You're great. But if Joy want to come to the game, she's more than welcome. She definitely can pull up. Absolutely. Anytime she wants to.
DG approved.
Don't mention peanut butter, please. That's all I ask.
Lord Jesus. But from a football standpoint, I think Mason Taylor is like, when me and DMac were talking about the gauntlet drill, I think this kid is going to kill it. He has very soft hands. He made a lot of big plays for LSU. Obviously, the quarterback play was kind of up and down from Musburger this year. Obviously, when you lose a guy like JD5 to go on and win Rookie of the Year. But this guy is a fluid route runner, very good hips, as DG would say, gets in and out of his breaks, catches the ball, good run after catch. Not the craziest athlete, but I think from a route running and technician standpoint, and being a natural catcher of the ball, he would be he's like a Noah Gray, but bigger, in my opinion. I think he would fit extremely well in this offense. And I would love to have him if we could kind of get him in the room and learn from guys like Noah Gray, learn from Travis Kelce being his last year, and then kind of extend and put that tradition in the tight end room and to keep it going for years to come. And then same thing with Terrence Ferguson, an athletic freak. I think this guy is going to test extremely well when he does everything at the pro day and combine if he's invited. I think he's about 6'4", can run. Like literally when he was coming into Oregon, people were comparing him to Travis Kelce because their body types are damn near the same. almost the same height. He can run. His run out to catch is crazy. He didn't really get enough production this year. He needed more targets. And obviously, when you look at the Oregon offense, there was Tez Johnson, there was Terrence Ferguson, there was James, there was so many guys on that offense to get the ball. He would go weeks sometimes with only getting maybe 4 to 5 targets. And it's not to say he wasn't open. They just had so many other guys to get the ball to. So I think his production being down may be able to help him fall to us. So I think he's definitely a day 2, day 3 target for me. A guy that doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body because obviously he didn't get that many touches this year. So I would love to have him in our room just because we love bigger, explosive tight ends. So I think he could come in and play right away. And especially with Jared Wiley having his knee injury, we're hoping that he's producing and hopefully recovering at a good rate. But if he's not and he's not ready to play, I think this kid can come in and step in right away and be that tight end 3, tight end 2, take some of those Kelce snaps away and kind of help him. Obviously, not put as many hits on his body as this being his last year. And him and Noah Gray can kind of hold the fort down until Jared Wiley gets back. And if Travis Kelce decides to hang it up after this year, if Terrence Ferguson, Jared Wiley, and Noah Gray are our tight end group going for the next 4 or 5 years, I would be extremely excited because that's a lot of athletic talent and a lot of smart guys in that room. So I would love that. And obviously, the final guy on my list is Connor Colby, guard out of Iowa. If anybody watched Iowa's run game from last year to this year, they took a tremendous jump. They can run the football. So no better guy, in my opinion, and there's some other good ones in the class, but as far as that are eligible for us on day 2 that can come in and replace Trey Smith if need be, this guy has a nasty mean streak just like Trey, an amazing run blocker, some weaknesses in pass blocking, which can be coached up. But I think from his hand placement, a nastiness streak he plays with, he'd be an amazing guy to get with Andy Heck and get in the building. Good first step. Obviously has a good size. I think he's about 6'5", weighed about 330, 340 when I looked at the chart. So he obviously measures out everything you want him to do. And I just love how the consistency he plays with. And even in Iowa's offense, the thing that I love, everybody in the world knows they're running the football and they still make their blocks. And Caleb Johnson was a production of that. And he had a great career and a great season this past year. And he's probably going to be drafted high because of this O-line. I think they ranked as one of the better O-line units in the country for a reason. So I love this kid. He's one of my favorite. Like, we had a last year favorite in our group chat being Connor Beebe out of K-State. I think once we watch more film of this guy, he's going to be kind of in that same two in the same lane for us. So these are my draft guys. I think I would be happy. I think the ones that are very realistic is Denny Sussman for sure. And I think either one of the tight ends and one of the receivers are very eligible. I think Connor may shoot up just because his tape is crazy. I don't know why he's ranked so low. I think that the guards they had him ranked like outside of the 10. This guy's one of the best guards in the class to me. I don't know why he's ranked this low, honestly. Maybe the school, maybe their offense wasn't as explosive. That's why. But if we can get him on day 2 or day 3, I would be ecstatic because he has the size and he has the mean streak. And he's a great run blocker, which we need to keep that in our offense as we need to improve in that area. But, yeah, I love this class. I think there's a lot of good guys you can grab. So much value on day 2 and day 3, like DG and DMac said. So no reason to reach unless you have a guy you follow. Only position I would be okay with reaching it would be left tackle. Outside of that, I'm very fine with us trading back and gathering more picks for sure.
Yeah, was that Ferguson or Evan Stewart that missed games for them last year?
Stewart.
Did Ferguson miss some games?
Stewart. Ferguson might have. I think he might have missed maybe one.
But like a major amount was probably Stewart.
It was Stewart.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out which one missed.
Yeah,
more.
Ferguson. He did miss a couple games too, but yeah, it was mainly Stewart. He didn't want. I remember that injury he went down. That was after the Ohio State game, I believe, or maybe before.
Yeah. So as far as this group is concerned, you've got my 2 favorite tight ends as far as kind of cost and, fit is concerned, Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson. I think that Travis Kelce coming back maybe moves tight end a little bit further down the priorities from that standpoint, but I like both of them. I was not going to put that on the screen for a very specific reason.
Bring Mason Taylor.
I'm helping us own it off the field, fellas. I'm getting us on the field.
Yes, sir.
And off the field. I'm helping the Chiefs out, baby. Hey, Clark Hunt, you need me in the building. Tell Mark Donovan I'm available, gang. I put my resume in multiple times, gang. You feel
DG
me?
approved.
Hey, call me. What DG be saying?
Call me,
bro. I'm available, dog. Put me in the building. I got you. But
I really like Mason Taylor's fluidity. Anytime that we're going to refer to anybody's hips not lying, we're going to say DG said it first. But I really do like what Mason Taylor brings to the table. Same thing for Ferguson, the explosiveness, the ability to be a difference maker in the passing game. I definitely agree for both those guys. I was watching a lot of Caleb Johnson because I am, handling the running backs this year. Connor Colby was jumping off the screen every
bro. He smacks people, bro.
He really plays with a level of physicality that was impressive, and it really pairs well with what Johnson's running style is as far as being able to seek out those holes from that standpoint too. And then my favorite wide receiver, Trey Harris, man, fluid, good size, good athleticism. I love what he brings to the table. He would be a perfect fit next to Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. We'll see where the value ends up landing, but you're talking about 95 for Trey Harris after you were
top 100 pick, absolutely.
One of those higher, kind of needs, I would love that. I would be very, very much all in as far as Trey Harris. Could be even talked about Trey Harris at 66 or whatever from that standpoint too, because I really do like him from that aspect. So yeah, appreciate that, CJ. And I'll go ahead and pull up mine here for a second. Lord Jesus, I was. Hey, look, I understand. I understand. It appears that you and some people at Fox also have some things in common, man.
He said that peanut butter skin, Lord Jesus. Hey, you ain't the only one, Caleb. We are, bro. You ain't the only one.
Peanut butter skin.
He said we are. So you ain't the only one. We all are, bro.
So
you're not the
I'll say for my guys, I'll start here. I'm responsible for offensive tackle, defensive lineman, and of course the running backs. Again, a lot of these offensive tackles you're going to hear a lot about over these next few weeks, but I wanted to kind of hit on somebody that you probably maybe haven't heard a lot about. Charles Grant out of William & Mary, kind of similar in the mold of a Kingsley from the standpoint of he's got all of the tools. It's just maybe not proven at the highest levels of competition in that standpoint. Obviously, William & Mary further down the board as far as BYU. This is a guy later on in the draft if they want to kind of attack tackle that I think makes a lot of sense. I'm going to be very interested to see how he performs at the combine, specifically in that drill I was talking about earlier, kind of where the guys have to start out, face down and have to move as far as I want to see how his feet go. On tape, I thought his hand usage was pretty good, played with plenty of power from that standpoint. I was impressed by him. So I'm really interested in what he's going to end up bringing to the table from that aspect too. And I obviously want to see what the arm measurement ends up being, but based on tape, I think he'll be just fine in that standpoint. Guy a little bit, obviously, way higher up the board, Walter Nolan, out of Ole Miss, a guy that is disruptive and a freak athlete. Lord Jesus, watching him play is amazing as far as the interior defensive line. He's a guy that easily could go top 20. There's been floating around that maybe he ends up slipping a bit. If it ends up happening and he's in the Chiefs range, I'd run the card up to the table without even a second hesitation. Obviously, I think it was Mel Kiper's draft, ended up having him going 32 to the Eagles. Under no circumstances should he get back past the Chiefs. You put that guy next to Chris Jones, boy, oh boy, fun to watch. Another guy, defensive lineman, Deion Walker.
You think Walter Nolan good?
Deion Walker is a little bit lesser from the standpoint, but he is a Jordan Davis kind of guy where that guy should not move that well type of player in that body type. And boy, you can't move him. So good luck. And that's why I love the idea of putting him next to Chris Jones. He is a guy that's going to be very difficult to deal with day one, just from the size perspective. He plays with those leverage, and then he also has flashes of being able to add to his pass rush repertoire. Being able to learn from Chris Jones, I think, would be massive.
DMac, we would set the record for batted down passes if you put Deion Walker next to Chris Jones. And with George already, we're going to break the record. Whatever the batted down passes record is, we would break it.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, and I had it as one of my priorities, having an interior defensive lineman and top 100 picks. I think that this is the class perfectly to get the guy that's going to be next to Chris Jones, learn from Chris Jones, and be the successor to Chris Jones. I truly do believe you can find a few of those guys. Those two are two of my favorites as well from that standpoint. As far as running backs, I wanted to go away kind of from the guys that, expect the top 60, top 70, top 90, top 100 really picks. From that standpoint, and kind of talk about some of the other favorites. Mentioned Jordan James earlier, part of that Oregon offense that was getting the ball. Explosiveness that he brings to the table, really, as far as zone runs are concerned, really good guy catching the ball out of the backfield. Needs a little work as far as pass pro, but that can be coached up from that aspect too. I think really pairs well with what we do as far as the movement, RPO game, zone runs to the outside, has the acceleration to turn that corner and really do those things that nobody in this offense has really been able to do, even to the point where going back to 2017 Kareem Hunt, as great as that was, he couldn't necessarily turn the corner as well as Jordan James can. He has that level of athleticism, that extra gear that you need. So going to be watching what he does at the combine. Is going to be impressed by it. Another guy, RJ Harvey, a guy that ripped off a lot of explosive runs with not a lot of help on a consistent basis as far as his offensive line is concerned. Brings all the prototypical size that I want, and I think that he's a guy that could be a 3-down back also. Probably go a little bit earlier than Jordan James, but certainly in a range that I'd be comfortable with taking a running back after addressing some other needs. So these are some of my earlier guys. Wanted to go away from some obvious names, but running back, defensive lineman, offensive tackle, a few guys that I certainly like as well. You guys got any comments as far as these guys are concerned?
Jordan James can fly. Like
He fast.
he can fly. Like
Fast.
if you
And he
didn't
catches the
watch
ball
Oregon this
extremely
year,
well. Facts.
yeah. If you didn't watch Oregon this year, and you didn't see Jordan James. That's
Every
probably
time
not.
he
I
touched
know
the ball, it was damn near an explosive play.
he got hurt. I think in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, one of the
Ohio
bowl
State.
games. Yeah, he left the game early.
But bruh, I think I watched him. What was that game? Who they were playing? It was earlier in the season though, but they were playing somebody. And
Probably Ohio State or Boise State or something.
that kid.
RJ Harvey is a very tough nosed runner too. Like he's explosive. He can hit his head on the goalpost as well. So either one of these, I think RJ Harvey's probably better in pass pro. But from an explosive standpoint, Jordan James, you get him the ball in the field, is probably raps, bro. For real. So I would be cool. This running back class is extremely deep. We've said that on air and off air. So I'd be cool with damn near any of these running backs because take your pick. There's so many guys that are going to be available after day 2 and on. Like most, I think there's probably maybe 2 guys who's probably going day 1, if that. Genty and maybe
running back. Yeah, I mean, people are starting.
Genty and Juckett, that's probably about it, honestly.
No, not even Juckett. People are pushing Marion Hampton up the board.
Oh, Marion? Oh, wow. I thought he was a day 2.
Yeah, but I
flip-flop, one will go down. Okay.
But to your point, I think that specifically as you talk about Chiefs needing a running back, certainly from that standpoint. But where this draft is strong, I think there's a really good defensive line class. I think it's a really good running back class. Tight end certainly, I think, falls into that as well. So Chiefs have some areas in need that certainly can be attacked from that standpoint. Defensive line and running back, I think, certainly fall into that category. Whether you want to take these guys early, obviously I prefer defensive line early, and I think that's really where the value comes into. And obviously running back throughout the draft, you can have the opportunity of it as well. Anything else as far as you guys want to go? I think we'll probably end up saving as far as the Chiefs fits probably till next week or maybe the week after as we get further into things as far as that's concerned. Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier as far as Nick Bolton and Charles Omenihu as well, and what the Chiefs are valuing from that aspect. So anything else you guys want to mention before we get into the NFL Combine, what you guys are looking for, excited about, et cetera, et cetera?
Not really.
Let's get to it. We got a long offseason. We got to pace ourselves.
Jordan
guys.
James.
It's gonna be a long offseason.
Yeah. Michael was like
he has that same type of juice.
I would think it was more as like remember when Damian Williams was here and he had that kind of, if he got in the open field, you wasn't catching him.
Facts.
That's kind of what Jordan James I think will bring to this team. You need a home run hitter, man.
Facts.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of guys that bring that to the table. In addition, and have the vision, on a down-to-down basis to continue to have efficient run game as well. So that's going to be important. You go into this, you need a running back. You got to come out of this draft with a running back. This is a really good draft to do so. And I think that the Chiefs kind of recognize that as well, which is important. And it's not to be saying that we're giving up on Isaiah Pacheco. I think that he can still be a productive player. I think the injuries really hampered him, but it is to the point where you need to make sure you got a guy that can really pair with him. And then I'd like to bring back some Ajay Peter. Speaking of which, of course, we will be talking about our choose your own offseason aspects. Last year was really kind of based around Chris Jones versus L'Jarius Sneed and going into that scenarios. This year, just going to be kind of build your own, choose your own path as you see fit. Nobody's going to be assigned those type of parameters as far as that's concerned. But we're going to be going through who we want to re-sign, who we want to sign in free agency, maybe somebody we want to trade for. Obviously, extensions, restructures, things of that nature as far as managing the salary cap, and then getting into a mock draft to go ahead and pair with it as far as that's concerned as well. Before we get on out of here, you guys want to do a quick mock draft? And then you guys want to
gotta end every episode. It's mock draft season, brother. It wouldn't be right if we didn't finish it off, right?
Mockity mock.
Yeah, y'all gonna get tired of these things, man. We got
you gonna mock this, you gonna mock that.
You gonna see these mocks.
So we're using Pro Football Networks here. We obviously used PFF last week. So
look at the mock.
No, we're not doing the
DK
Metcalf conversation.
My presence, I can't. I hate
the DK. Speaking of which, not the DK aspect of it. Let me just cycle through these real quick. I'm good. Before we get to not the DK Metcalf conversation, because that's not a conversation. Luther Burden falling out of the first round, asinine. Under no ability should that ever happen. Disrespectful. Don't do it. That's all I have to say as far as that's concerned.
Let him fall to, yeah, do it.
If it
Let him
do
fall to
happen.
us. Let him get the 31.
And we joked all summer about him falling out, and then look what about to happen.
Yeah, do it.
Because I had him in line to have, like, obviously, when the Biletnikoff have like 1,500 plus yards.
But it's funny, we had that conversation, and we had that conversation specifically as far as Mizzou expert. I was like, the only way that the Chiefs are in position to draft Luther Burden is if things go wrong for Mizzou during the season, which it did relative to expectations
to some extent,
from that standpoint. Exactly. But you turn on the tape, nothing is wrong with them. All the explosiveness in the world,
give him the ball.
Drop issues, exactly. Get open versus man or zone doesn't matter. So if he's there at 31, again, Luther, and we'll get into this as we get further into the draft season, Luther will be one of the guys that is a true first-round grade for me. And if you have a guy that's a true first-round grade, you go and take him without question from that standpoint. So getting into it, of course, we got a few guys on this list here that certainly catch my eye. I'm going to let you guys say who you would pick, and then I'll say, my thoughts.
Kenneth Grant, duh.
We got, I was about to say, we got one guy on here that was one of DG's guys. Well, we got two guys on here. One other guy was CJ's guys. Go ahead.
I mean, like, for me, it's either Loveland or Kenneth Grant. For me, it's no question. Like, if you truly want to move on from Travis Kelce and make Loveland the focal point, he's tight end 2 in his class for me behind Tyler Warren. So I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But realistically, I'm giving the card with Kenneth Grant. I'm not thinking twice about it. He's an elite D tackle, a guy that can obviously play next to another great player like Chris Jones. He did it his whole career in Michigan. He's a dominant player, can eat up 2 gaps. Obviously, can take on double teams as well. No Diddy, but he's a great player. So I would love Kenneth Grant next to Chris Jones for the next 4 or 5 years. So that'd be an amazing, and especially at 31. I never thought he would even be available at this spot. He's usually gone on most people's mocks, so he'd be the obvious pick for me.
I think we know what you mean by taking up double teams in the context of
we got immature vision because Chuck probably saying some shit right now.
Some of us ain't mature enough for these conversations.
That's facts. You see what happened when we brought up Joy?
That's fair.
That peanut butter skin.
Go ahead, DG.
Yeah, 2 of my guys are actually on here: Shamar Stewart, Xavier Watts. I think this would be a little too high to take either one of them. If you got into a scenario where you could trade back and get more and get both of those guys in the second round, I think that's better value, in my opinion. So I wouldn't take them at 31. Watts just more so on the drafting a safety this high. I don't think it's really a need for them. Yeah.
It's too rich for what the Chiefs need ultimately.
Yeah.
He's a great player. He would fit. It's just early.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I'd probably have to agree. To me, it's either between Williams or Grant as far as the position of need and what you need for the future. I would probably go. Kenneth Grant. That's probably
Shamar Stewart factor in for you at 31. It's too early for you. It's
a little too early for me. I think he's more day 2 guy, but I wouldn't be mad at it. But that would mean that they obviously believe in him and they like him a lot more than they like FAU or I mean possibly even George, if you want to say.
He could come in and play. He could come in and play right away if need be. But I'm like you. There's no need to reach for him that early when there's so many other guys of need that we need immediately. We do need edge help, obviously, but it's not the number one need. I think number one need right now, obviously, is anything as far as like pass rushing, interior D lineman from a standpoint, or obviously getting the protection of left tackle, which that's the only position I would trade up for. But in this position right here, Kenneth Grant should not be here. He should already be gone. Yeah. So the fact that he is here, you have to take him. And he would immediately help our D-line room next to Chris Jones. So,
yep, I completely agree from that standpoint. So I'll say this. The guy that's at the top of the board, Harmon, I have rated above Kenneth Grant just from the standpoint I like his pass rush upside a little bit more. I thought he was a little bit more disruptive. I think Grant is a little bit more of a run stuffer. I would have both of those guys above Tyreek Williams. I know he mocked to the Chiefs in the athletics mocks earlier today. Again, more of that run stuff, or even less so than the Kenneth Grant as far as being able to really play with the disruptive qualities that I like to see from the interior defensive line. And I'm a little concerned about Kenneth Grant's pad level as well. Shout out to Man Myth from that standpoint.
Shout out to Myth, the pad level.
But again, I'm perfectly fine taking Kenneth Grant. I think he's first round talent, no issues as far as that's concerned. I was going to say something. So the other thing I wanted to say is Loveland. I think that he also first round talent. You talk about guys to pick from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
I would be okay with taking him at 31, certainly from that aspect. I'd be happy to take him at 31. And I said it earlier, obviously Tyler Warren is going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of love, a lot of hype from that standpoint. But, and again, I want to be clear about this. This is the highest possible outcome, the 1% outcome in which this happens. But if you're talking about replicating Travis Kelce's role in this offense, Colston Loveland has the ability to do that in a way that Tyler Warren would not. The fluidity, the ability to receive the ball, the ability to get open on a consistent basis. That's what Loveland brings to the table in a way that I don't think any really other tight end in this entire draft brings it to that aspect and really has that ceiling as well. So that's why I think he's going to be a true first round guy from that standpoint. But in this case, I would take one of the defensive tackles. I would go Harmon. You guys both like Grant, so we'll go with Grant and roll on from that standpoint and keep it rolling as well. To get further into this, make sure.
Does Warren give you guys more of George Kittle vibes?
Yeah, he's an amazing blocker. He's more of a straight line runner. Not to say he can't do that many yards at the catch, but like DMac said, Loveland just has more wiggle. Like obviously, like Kelce and Kittle are both guys that can produce for 1,000 yards, but from a blocking, gritty, hard nose, just run through your face standpoint, that's Tyler Warren. If you want a guy that's a little bit more finesse, has more athletic ability, can bend, can break tackles, and use his hips more, that's Loveland. So both guys are amazing targets in the red zone, both big catch radiuses, both going to make plays and score a lot of touchdowns. But which guy fits the Chiefs system more? It would definitely be Loveland for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's just the bucket that these guys fit in as far as Y tight end, F tight end. Travis Kelce, more Loveland. George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, more so Tyler Warren from that standpoint. So a flavor of what you're looking for in your offense. And I think Noah Gray has proven really well to be a good inline type of guy from that standpoint. So you can, shift a little bit more to the Kelce aspect. So next pick, we have a trade offer from the Giants to get a 4th round pick in 2026. The only person that I'm scared of them taking is Deion Walker.
Deion Walker, yeah.
So I'm going to accept it because we already just took the defensive tackle. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Did you guys see who just took the defensive tackle?
Who was it?
You should have took him.
Well, we already got one.
The Eagles.
Don't let them get him.
Man.
Don't let them get him. I'm intrigued by this, but I think we've done one trade.
Hang the phone up on them.
Man, don't let them.
Well, we didn't do it. It's just because the Giants.
We don't want to talk to them bums.
Oh man,
that was God.
That was nasty.
That sucks. That sucks.
Could you imagine trying to run with Jordan Davis and Deion?
That's what I'm saying. They don't even. How they gonna play? Because you ain't taking Jalen Carter off the field. So where's he gonna play? You rotate him and Jordan Davis.
It don't matter with the Eagles. They're gonna figure out a way.
God, that's so disgusting.
So we're sitting here. Obviously, we took the defensive tackle early. I think that the first question about it is which of these offensive tackles kind of left. I'll be honest with you guys. Outside of Grant, I don't like any of these guys as far as being picked this early from that standpoint. I think we're in agreement from that standpoint. Tight ends, Mason Taylor, another guy from UT who I really like. DG Gunnar Helm has that fluidity as well. I like Taylor, Helm, Elijah Robertson far better than Elijah Warrior. That's just me personally. That's just how I view those guys.
I like all those guys.
I know we can use we'll go with it that way. Wide receiver, I don't think there's anybody really that stands out here. Now, running back, Joe Judkins and Henderson, guys from Ohio State, are still on the board. Kind of is thinning out from that standpoint, as we've seen other guys go earlier as well. We have back-to-back picks here, so we're obviously picking for 2 guys as well. We'll take a quick peek at the offensive guard. Connor Colby further down the board, which is interesting.
We get
on the defensive side, we'll take a look at edge. I don't know. The only guy that jumps out here, Jordan Birch. We'll talk about him a little bit later if he ends up still being on the board as well. Linebacker, guy I really like a lot. Carson Schweitzer still on the board as well. Chris Paul Jr. also pretty solid. And, of course, CJ's guy, Danny Stetson. Cornerback, Azra Thomas. Kobe still on the board as well. And safety, guy from Texas, Makuba. So we've got a few different options with these 2 picks. I think we all agree probably not going to be tackle. Talking about the kind of Chiefs needs. Good running backs, great running backs as far as Henderson is concerned on the board. I can go there. We got the tight end options. We got the safeties. Where you guys want to go with these picks here?
Gosh, it'd be so hard for me to pass up either one of those backs from Ohio State at this point.
I think one of these picks has to be Henderson in my personal
Yeah,
Either him or
especially
Judkins.
where
I'm cool with either one of them.
what's the running back? What's the rest of the running back board look like?
I'm cool with either one of them.
Or what was it looking like?
I'll pull it up here in a second. I just want to Cleveland wants us to move back. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, the other running backs are available: DJ Giddens, Scotty Gordon,
Damian Martinez. Yeah,
Jordan
nobody
James.
really pops off. Yeah.
So these are my guys down here.
Jordan James are down there. Yeah, Taj Brooks is down there. I think I'm cool with like Stutzman and Henderson. I think that'd be a good two for us. You get your linebacker for the future if we decide to move on from Nick and in years past, and obviously when Drew Tranquil moves on, you get a starting running back with juice that can help us be explosive, kind of kill two birds with two areas we definitely need for sure.
So you got Stutzman ahead of Swerves and Paul Jr. For you personally, CJ.
That's me personally, but I like both of them. But I think Stutzman's better. That's just me.
DG, anybody as far as the cornerback and safeties kind of stand out to you? Obviously, we know Kuba.
Kuba, I mean, would be the only one, but I feel like we've taken him in another one. Thomas from Florida State was another guy I had talked about in the previous episode. But I think it was only like 1 year of production, so I don't know if, it could be one of those things where you run into where he may not be as good as you think he is. I think the pick here, it'd probably have to be linebacker in between Stutzman or Chris Paul Jr., who they talked to before.
So a question I would ask you, CJ, do you want to go with Mason Taylor or Stutzman if you're picking between two of them?
Damn.
Now think about this.
When's our next pick?
Think about the benefits.
So obviously, Stutzman, as far as the board is set up, you would assume Stutzman would be there later on.
That is true. When's our next pick again?
The
95.
Benefits. When's our next pick after 66?
95.
95. Shit. Yeah.
It's probably Stutzman.
It had to be Stutzman. He ain't lasting until 95, so I highly doubt that. I think top 100 player easy. And obviously, let me see the tight end board again.
There you go.
Man, down there, Fergie.
Joy going to another city.
Oh god. Yes, that's tough. I mean, I'm gonna do the right thing. Fuck, that's tough. This tight end class is good because after Taylor, Helm, Arroyo, after Ferguson, bro, it gets dark.
It's gone. To me, your Taylor, Helm, Ferguson, to me are the last three that you're probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. After that, yeah. Well, yeah.
You wouldn't take a flyer on Mitchell Evans?
I wouldn't hate it, but
I wouldn't take a flyer on Mitchell Evans now that I know that Kelce's coming back.
Yeah.
Give me Mason Taylor. Fuck it. I don't care.
Mason Taylor, it is. Welcome to Kansas City, Mason Taylor.
The Taylor family. We all love you here. Get yourself some barbecue and call it a day.
Family, of course. Oh man, I'm good on that trade. So as far as this is concerned, we'll go to check the linebackers because we did have a conversation about them last time. Stutzman's still on the board there. And
we lucked out, fellas. We lucked out.
We could probably go straight there. Cornerback, Kobe's still sniffing around there. Next pick here is at 168, so we're gonna have to wait a while for our last pick as far as that's concerned.
All right,
my guy,
linebacker.
Noah Williams, also further down the board as well. Quincy Riley, who I think we talked about last time. Oh my god! I don't know if any of these safeties stand out to you. Please do not. If you say that the guy that has a 237 next to your name stands out to you, I will smack you personally.
Yes, Silas Sanders, baby, pick him up. The safeties.
Yeah. So now that we're here at 95, I'm just going to give my spiel really quickly about Jordan Burch. I like Jordan Burch a lot, specifically as a Spags edge, and he plays big, physical, can be disruptive on the outside, but a guy that can reduce down as far as passing downs are concerned and really get after it from the interior defensive line. He didn't play a lot inside. I want to make that clear. They did not move him inside often, but I think in what we've seen with Spags be able to do in years past, guys like Tershawn Wharton, Charles Omenihu, obviously, George Kalafdis at times, I think that you can certainly see that for a guy like Jordan Burch. And if you're going to reinvest in the trenches, particularly along the defensive line, he would be a guy around this range that makes a lot of sense for the defense. defense from that standpoint. So we got Stutzman, got Birch, CJ. I know you said nothing really at safety. Did you see anybody? Obviously, we got Kobe still on the board as far as corner is concerned as well. Offense, really, we've hit on running back, hit on tight end.
We're pretty much good on those. We can focus on defense.
Charles Grant is still here, but that'd be the only guy. But I still probably prefer Birch over that, or one of the linebackers from that standpoint. Wide receiver, I think, obviously Trey Harris went really early.
Assuming how this is going as far as the tackle position, I would assume that the Chiefs probably
they would go tackle.
Yeah, or sign somebody agency that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, in this case, in which the board falls this way, but generally speaking, in my personal view, as far as the offseason plans, sign a vet tackle for a minimum investment and
Kingsley
to have him compete to play the tackle.
Somebody win.
That's how I look at it personally, obviously. And then certainly the board supports it as well, which is very possible from that standpoint because it's not a lot of tackles in this class. It just isn't. It's not a good tackle class as well. So I think we're all pretty much kind of looking at defense. Jordan Birch, Stutzman, or Kobe Bryant. I'm good with really Stutzman. Kind of as far as that's concerned. How do you guys feel about it?
I love it. I think he would be here, so I love it.
Yeah, it's obviously a position of need. Especially if Nick were to walk, or just planning for the future of Jutrenko not being here. Who knows how many more years he has left forever in the tank? So I think it's obviously a position you have to take.
Yeah, so we'll go with Stutzman. I did just see my guy from William and Mary go off the board. So we'll look at my picks real quick. We still got 2 picks kind of later on, 232 and 256 for later guys. We got DT, got running back, got tight end, got linebacker so far. 168, I'm thinking DB or wide receiver. That'd be the first thing that kind of comes to my mind. Let's take a look at the cornerbacks. I like Noel Williams personally as far as that's concerned. Anybody else standing out for you, DG?
Let me. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, my bad. I know that's not the easiest way to see it.
Austin Styles kind of undersized. I think he's more of a safety too. The rest of these are just guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Any of the safeties from that standpoint. I'm kind of seeing the same thing.
Shiloh Sanders.
Shut your ass up.
Nah. Nobody for the safety position that don't really invest. I think it's always the guy
you gotta go receiver at this point.
Yeah,
I was gonna say let's hop on over and see what's up with the wide receivers. Local kid Theo Reese Jr., who I do like as a compliment as far as body type in the room. I will say that certainly. He does bring that which you kind of need next to Rasheed and Xavier Worthy as well. You can take a look. Any of these guys kind of stand out to you as far as interior offensive linemen, CJ?
Miles Frazier. Tyler Cooper I looked at him. Tyler Cooper, Joshua Gray. Yeah.
I like Tyler Cooper as well. I was watching the Earthside tape and he was standing out.
Gray was on my list. Lampkin was on my list. Yeah, I'll be cool with Cooper be at the top. Yeah, I'll be cool with one of those 3. Those 3 I looked at. Lampkin is a physical specimen too. So
this is that needle in a haystack round.
It is. So personally, I would probably go. I'd probably go Noel Williams. That would personally my
corner. Yeah. I think if we did this, we would have to re-sign Hollywood. So
yeah, I agree with that. And again, you can make the argument re-sign Hollywood, re-sign Juju. You could go into it with that type of
that
wide
4. That's a good
group.
Yeah,
like that's a group that you can go into it from the wide receiver perspective, and now you've kept Travis Kelce, you've added Mason Taylor, you've added Travion Henderson, so now your offense feels like it's got that juice back to it. So. You can make the argument that maybe not getting a wide receiver in this class, which it isn't a great wide receiver class either, would not be the worst thing in the world as well.
Lots of juice.
Cool with Noel over Cooper, as far as that's concerned, CJ.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
And we'll keep on rolling on 232. Also, we will be bringing back the draft stream this year. I had a lot of fun with that the first round. I missed, unfortunately, day 2, but I do want to be there for day 2, certainly. But definitely going to be bringing back this year. Have some fun with that coming up this year. Offense. Obviously, it's getting late early out there, to say the least. I don't really see nothing as far as the wide receivers are concerned. To be honest with y'all. Shout out to Western, man. He gave
That's what I was thinking. Like, wouldn't he'd be an interesting prospect.
Keandre Lambert wouldn't be a terrible option.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't hate it, but him and Will Shepherd definitely have some things you could work with on film. LaJohntay Weston had a nose for getting in the end zone. He caught a lot of touchdowns for them. So
he can run routes.
He got open a lot. So it wouldn't be I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him late. Definitely if you're in UDFA, I would love him. So
more of a slot guy.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So
well, we got to replace Scott Moore somehow.
Hey, wide receiver 5, baby. Let's go.
And I ain't gonna lie, he's probably better.
I would hope so.
Yes.
Any of these guards? Sorry, real quick, CJ. I think we're getting the slim pickings as far as the offensive line is concerned.
It's the bottom of the bottom barrel right here. Nobody really stands out, honestly.
What's the quarterback?
I was gonna say let's check the defense for the quarterback real quick. No. Stackhouse is interesting from Georgia.
Nazir, yeah.
I wouldn't go there though. We took no.
Fuck no.
Let's look at quarterback real quick. So we've heard a lot definitely not this guy. We've heard a lot as far as Tyler Shaw and the tools that he brings to the table. So I'm not completely opposed to taking Tyler Shaw right here, to be honest with you, as far as quarterback is concerned.
A Brady Cook Mizzou legend. What the hell?
Yeah, shout
man, I know you see DJ down there.
Why is his name on the list? What is he doing?
You see DJ.
Man, go get your job application. DMac Industry. Go get a job. Go to LinkedIn, hit I'm available, and apply for a job. You is not playing quarterback for nobody.
I'm gonna go with Shaw because I've seen some solid Tyler Shaw.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ubering, son. You ain't throwing a football ever. And on that note, DG, we about to call it a show.
Wendy's.
They gave you life. Sayonara. Churches. DJ ukulele. Why'd you even put your name on the list? when they do an extra interviews and they ask who want to play, DJ, you should have took your right to the locker room, son. Don't be telling coach you want to have no future and nothing. Talking about I want to play. Play what?
I think that I showed.
Bro, you ain't playing.
I showed Shiloh Sanders too often on my screen, and that's what ultimately is getting rid of it. But we got nicer Stackhouse. You know what? Stackhouse, large individual, which we kind of need a large individual on the defensive line, given who we're losing in free agency. So I would personally take Stackhouse. I don't know if you guys.
I'm cool with it.
Want a position that you want to look at.
We're
gonna go with Stackhouse and go ahead and finish it out, man. So. As far as draft falls go, I'm pretty happy about this one.
Hey, we got amazing value with Kenneth Grant. Wasn't supposed to be there. Got an RB1 with explosiveness with Travion, who can catch the ball.
3 down back immediately. No doubt about it from that standpoint. Mason Taylor comes in. That's a heck of a tight end room, boy. I'll tell you that. And people are gonna be like, 4 tight ends? No, you can make it work as far as the roster spots are concerned. That's a heck of a tight end room. Adding Mason Taylor to Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, particularly there. Danny Stutzman, like you said, can come in. I'll let you go ahead and give it.
No, he can play right away. Tackling machine guy that can lead the defense if need be, can play with a green dot. An amazing instinct guy, extremely fast and explosive. He's going to be available, play damn near every game. He's going to play through injury, a tough-nosed guy. He literally epitomizes everything that Spags like out of a defensive linebacker, so he can come in and have an immediate impact with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah Williams, a guy that I thought had some pretty good tape. Certainly has the height and weight that you're looking for. Going to be interesting to see how he tests. But as far as Dave Merritt projects, day 3, Brett Veach type of guys, fits that mold as far as that's concerned. And definitely we could use a cornerback depth, I think, certainly in that aspect too. So be happy to bring him in. Tyler Show come in, a guy that has some tools out of Louisville, backup quarterback option. Nazir Stackhouse, a big guy along the defensive line that goes ahead. and adds to that room as we obviously lost a little bit of depth as far as that's concerned. And you had, the Giants' 4th round pick, which will probably be at the top of the 3rd round because the Giants suck. So that'd be nice. I'm seeing the text changes pop off, so I'm going to be very interested to see what in the world you guys are talking about over there. I'm kind of concerned, to be honest with you. We've almost been live for 2 hours, so that means that it's time to get on out of here, man.
Yeah.
Anything before we go ahead and get out of here?
Underdog.
Tap in.
Absolutely.
Bet the house.
3 or Kingdom Cast. You can use either one for a $100 deposit match. Obviously, we're getting into NBA. March Madness is right around the corner. Make sure you guys tap in as far as that's concerned. MLB spring training started up. We'll have those, we're getting into March, baby. We're getting back into that season too. Looking forward to it as well. I didn't even hear what you said.
I said Jack Caglione.
Oh,
Jack Caglione, baby.
Hey, my guy Victor Scott II had a great home run today in spring training, baby. VS2 should be the Cardinals opening day center fielder. But yeah, everybody, make sure you guys enjoy. Obviously, the combine will be tweeting out from our accounts. Obviously, we have them on the screen. DMac Wake 316, CGZ81, Q Prolific for DG. We'll be talking about the combine throughout the week. Who we're looking forward coming into the weekend. We'll have that wrap up for you guys next Tuesday night. And in addition, we will be hitting you guys where to choose your own off seasons. Look out for some content as far as related to that as well. But yeah, nothing else. Go out there, enjoy you guys. Shout out to Peanut Butter Skin. And we'll say peace out and go Chiefs. Enjoy the combine.